All right, lads, welcome back to another episode of Who's Got the Ball. Obviously, most of you will know, being sporting fans, over the last week, there's obviously a bit of sad news. And Shane is our Liverpool fan here, so Shane, I'll let you say a couple of words because obviously it wouldn't be right to do this without starting on something as sad as this.
Yeah, I just when I woke up on the Thursday morning, woke up excited. I was going on holidays the Thursday afternoon, couldn't wait, and just woke up to a message from one of my friends saying Jota's after dying, and I was like, it's like hardly. It's like went on Twitter, nothing up about it. There was nothing there. Frantically looking everywhere, going on to This Is Anfield, Sky Sports, looking absolutely everywhere, and then I went on to Liverpool's website, and there was no stories up. Everything had been pulled. I was
Hmm.
like, well, sure, they haven't done that by mistake. They haven't done that for to put up a big massive sign all of a sudden. So I had a feeling then it was true. And I think the best thing you can say about Jota is he was clearly always his authentic self because the way everyone has spoken about him, like I didn't know him and the impact it had on me is absolutely crazy. So I can only imagine his family in particular. I just feel so sorry for them. Married 11 days ago, lost him and his brother in one foul swoop.
Hmm.
It's horrific. I think I said to you on the Thursday as well that you look at these people and you just think they're superheroes. Nothing can ever happen to them. It's like so when Kobe passed away as well. It's like you're almost waiting to hear that he survived the helicopter crash. You're just waiting to hear that this is just a one big massive mistake and he's actually fine and his brother's fine and he's on the ferry back to Liverpool. But it was really horrific news to wake up to and I am glad that they have decided to play the game on Sunday and kind of give them a bit of a send off to start and just kind of see where they go from there. I just think it's still really hard to talk about it, to be honest. I really don't know what to say about it. I just think it's so sad.
Yeah, no, I think it's horrendous. Obviously, seeing anybody dying at any age, but to see somebody who, like a lot of people, looked up to as a role model, obviously around the sporting world, but Liverpool fans and people from his hometown, dying so soon after getting married, and
Mm.
then to hear that his brother passed away, his brother Andre Silva, obviously another footballer in the Portuguese side of things. He was playing over there, and for their parents to lose both kids, yeah, just utterly horrendous. But we wanted to say a bit about that at the start, just to open it up. But we'll touch on what we're going to actually touch on this week. That sounds a bit odd. So anyway, what we're gonna great segue. We're- so we're starting a new style of intro now. We're gonna go back at the end and just tell you everything we chatted about, so you know what's the crack. So we talked about Norm Powell, his trades and what went on over there, in the NBA. We kind of just used that as the only bit about the NBA because we wanted to do a bit more on the NFL this week. So this week we touched on the NFL again. We kept our season previews going. We finished up the NFC South, so we did the Falcons and the Saints, and then we also did the Rams and the Cardinals from the NFC West. But in between those, we took a little break and we chatted about football. We did our usual thing, and we did the season preview for two more football teams, Aston Villa and my Man United, of course, which was not, yeah, that wasn't the best because
I,
didn't
I,
want to
I
talk too
actually
much.
thought, yeah, we weren't as harsh as we probably could have been on United,
Yeah,
and we were
true. That's
probably a
probably
bit
because of
too
me.
harsh on the Saints, a bit too harsh on the Saints maybe. But sorry
Yeah,
about that, Conan.
yeah, Conan is
When
going to
you do
be
listen.
pretty upset by that, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think probably I swung the United bit in a positive direction probably. But then we did our transfer roundup after the Premier League chat before we got into those two NFC West teams in the Cardinals and Rams as I already mentioned, and then we finished up on a bit of a fun draft for you. So we drafted the NBA jerseys that we most liked, and we'll break down the what kind of categories we went into there and what the reasoning was and which pools we had to choose from of them. So you'll hear that towards the end if you want to stick around and have a bit of fun, a bit of a laugh at the end. But
Hmm.
one thing that we wanted to correct from last week, courtesy of my mother for bringing this up because she was listening to the podcast and she said to me, "Oh, Shane mentioned something about Callum Wilson signed a new contract and you weren't sure about it." And she said afterwards, I didn't think he did, so I looked it up And she was like, no, he hasn't. So she was like, you need to tell Shane that there. So let's throw that straight spanner into the works.
Yeah, I need to apologise to your father and also to my friend Killian, who I told him on the flight to Spain that Callum Winston signed a new contract when we were 30,000 feet in the sky, and therefore couldn't.
Can't check.
We were unable to fact check if I was right or
Oh,
not. And when we landed, I fact checked, and I didn't tell him I was wrong because I didn't want to ruin his holiday. So apologies to Killian and your both of your parents for
my mother
my.
supports Man United, so it's all right. That's
Oh,
where I got the fandom from. But she just wanted to call you out more than anything. She just wanted to
fair
see you
enough.
suffer in the podcast. She said
And
that Shane fella, you know,
do you know what?
doesn't know about the Wilson.
I wouldn't call it much of a suffer now because as I said, it's at the end of the show, which is weird saying it now, but I did have it at the top of my page to bring it up anyway to hold my hands up and say I'm very sorry to all the Newcastle fans who listen, and if you'll allow me to continue, we will take Isaac off your hands and you can have Hugo Ekitike. He's the talk now.
All right, let's save all that Liverpool crap for another time. This guy absolutely is dying for Isak to come to Liverpool. But yeah, we'll let him have it. And he's been called out on his Wilson mistake, so let's not go too much further onto that one. But yeah, enjoy the show, lads. Right, so we're just going to start with the Norm Powell trade. Just a quick topic on the NBA because we're covering a little bit extra on the NFL side. But Norm Powell, first of all, he's gone. Well, other players included in this, or not just the Norm Powell trade, but I feel like that is the most important part. So the Clippers, Jazz, and Heat basically did a trade last week. It's the only major bit of NFL NBA news, I guess, outside of the summer league kicking off, which we'll dive into next week actually, because we've got some Irish representation as you have seen on our page. So we'll cover that next
Yeah.
week how he got on over there, CJ. But it was Norman Powell went to Miami, John Collins went to LA Clippers, and Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and one of the Clippers' 2027 second round picks went to the Jazz. Few things I thought were, I think it was interesting for the Jazz to dump Collins. I've heard some stuff about them being interested in signing Kaminga on a sign and trade, so that might free up the salary that he needs to take. And also they drafted Walter Clayton Jr., who apparently the Warriors wanted, so that might be part of that sign and trade. I thought there's not a whole lot of point for the Heat in this because they didn't give up too much. So look, I guess it's worth it to take a flyer on Powell. I just don't think he makes that much of a difference to them. But they didn't give up much, so I think while he will do a lot, he'll take a lot of shots, and he'll probably put up a lot of threes. I don't think he's what they need. And then for the Clippers, I just thought the only way this is really worth it is if Bradley Beal ends up there after he gets bought out by the Suns, which seems like it's going to happen. But
Hmm.
those are like my three main takeaways.
Yeah, I agree with you in one sense. I don't think like he's not going to be the player that's going to be pushing them up to like be borderline winning their conference. Like that's not happening. Even joining the likes of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, they'll still probably be like middling of the road.
Yeah,
So for the price, it probably was a small bit of a no-brainer. It was quite cheap for what they got him for, but it's really not the kind of deal that pushes them anywhere more than what they were before they made the trade. So it is a strange one in that sense that he's a good player, but he's not affecting them in a way that a trade should affect them. Um,
exactly.
like it's just kind of like as you said, he'll shoot trees and all that, but they need to kind of build on this if they want to be pushing to do anything. And like the Miami always find themselves kind of under pressure because of how bad their
Yeah.
front office works. So it's kind of
At times
it's
it's like recently it just seems to be bad. Like in the past, the things they've done were just amazing, but now it seems like people are still saying they've been doing good. But I just think Spoelstra has been bailing them out like time and time again.
big time, yeah. Absolutely, I couldn't agree more with you. I just think it's such a strange trade to that somehow like they managed to rope three teams into doing this, and they've ended up with probably the best player from it. But it
Mm.
still doesn't make it. It makes all three teams don't get any better from it, really.
Yeah, I think that the look for Powell, like going there, I actually thought he played well last season, but he worked on the Clippers
Hmm.
because there's a lot of defense around him. And like Chris Dunn, if he played next to him or whatever, he can make up the defense for two players. Whereas at Miami, he's going to be a massive hole on the defensive side. I don't really think they can play him and Davion Mitchell together, which would be what would counteract. But I just, I don't know. I just feel like Miami are like clutching at straws at this point. They're like, what move can we make? We'll make this
Yeah,
one. And the Clippers probably, I think to get John Collins is not a bad one because he still has some potential, and I think he's good defensively when he wants to be. So I think he makes sense there for them right now. But again, I don't think it sends them over the edge either. I'll be interested to see what happens if they do get Bradley Beal that replaces the Norm Powell position, and
yeah.
now they have a good player in Collins. And yeah, let's see what happens. And then on the other side for the Jazz, it'd be interesting to see if they dumped Collins for a reason because I feel like they could have got more for him in another season. But yeah, not a whole lot right now in the NBA, I guess. That was kind of the only thing. So let's just move straight on to the NFL because we've got a lot to cover. So we're going to start with the last two teams in the NFC South. We've got the Falcons and Saints to go through. So we'll start with the Falcons. Back to the usual four questions that we're covering on each team for the previews. Where do the Falcons need to improve most from last season?
So cornerback depth. So AJ Terrell is back this year, but outside of him, they're really, really struggling in that position. If he gets injured again, they've no one coming up behind him to cover him at cornerback, and he is brilliant. But everything else is kind of it's a massive downgrade on what he brings you. And so if they could get anyone in to kind of help cover him and maybe complement him even. I think that would be a massive thing for him to do.
Yeah, I think overall, if you look at them last year, like it looks like they're pretty okay in most positions, and in most stats. They're kind of like middling across the board, so it was hard enough to pick this. But one thing for me that I know stood out a lot, and they tried to sort it out during the season when they brought in Matthew Judon from the Patriots, but sacking the quarterback just wasn't a thing that they did last year at
Mm.
all. Only 28 sacks last season, which was the second least in the league. Now, they did add in the draft through James Pierce Jr. and Jalen Walker. Now, Walker didn't have a huge production number in terms of sacks overall, but the pressure he put on the QB was massive. And when you add that alongside the likes of James Pierce, who there's question marks about his character and things like that, but look, I think they're taking a fly on both of those guys, and they got Leonard Floyd from the Niners. So I think those three things all together, yeah, I think they're in a nice position now to rectify that because I thought that was the biggest issue.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout as well. In fairness, they just couldn't get near any quarterbacks last year. Couldn't get in the same ballpark as them, let alone the same pitch. So we'll see if they
Yeah.
can kind of improve on that. That'll be a massive thing for them.
Yeah, that kind of falls into my next question of who are the three players on their team that will make the biggest impact next season. The first one I went to it is Leonard Floyd. The reason is because looking at his last five seasons, he had 10.5, 9.5, 9, 10.5, and 8.5 sacks. So that's sheer numbers there to start. That's like a
Mm.
third of what they got last season. So he knows what to do. He's a veteran in the league. He's played for some very good teams. Then Drake London. I think this is a no-brainer. He's one of the best wide receivers in the league. Entering year four, I think he'll need to have a big year to help out Michael Penix because
Yeah,
he will make mistakes and he'll find it hard being a full time starter. So he'll need to use his big frame and size to help him there. And then lastly, I went with Jesse Bates, star on the defensive backside. He's an unbelievable safety. So I think that kind of helps in the issue that you highlighted, maybe at corner depth when they have such a strong guy sitting at safety. It does help out the corners.
yeah, that's not bad. I also have Drake London. As you said, it is a no-brainer. 1,200 yards on 100 receptions and 9 touchdowns last year. He probably needs to stick to that or go higher, especially as he is definitely going to be Michael Penix's number one target all season long. Outside of that, I put in AJ Terrell again. He's their franchise player. Really, he's there on a massive deal on a long term contract. He's the one they need to kind of really hope that he can get back to his best. And I put in Michael Penix Jr. then as my last one. How he performs will define where their ceiling is this season. I think it's his first full year now as a starter. We'll have to see if he can come to grips with it quickly and kind of just find his men, make things happen with his feet, with his arm, everything, and just he's the one that can lead them to somewhere this year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people really impressed with him when he came out of college, and I think people are calling for him throughout the season to step in. And I was actually really impressed with some of the games I watched him playing, but he looked like a rookie, to be honest. Like, he
Yeah,
was a rookie, but he looked in the early stage rookie, but at the end of the season because he had been thrown in so late, which I think is quite hard. So yeah, I think he will be important. I think he'll do well for them. So the next one is, do we think they'll hit their over under with the bookies for wins this season? So they're projected for 7.5. What did you think?
I think they'll sneak in over. Their division is quite weak, so I think they'll get 8 or 9. They were 8 and 9 last year, so I think they could flip that to 9 and 8 this year, and kind of
Yeah,
see where it leaves them then.
yeah, I had the same. I think they'll get there, and I actually like them very solidly to win the division this year.
Yeah,
I think they're better than the Bucks across the board. They just need to put it together. Although I like the Bucks too, but I do think that they're the better side, and I think they'll win the division. I think they'll get close to 9 or 10 wins, to be honest, given that the division is quite easy.
mm.
But then looking at their ceiling with the current roster and coach for the season ahead for our last question, since I think they'll win the division, I also think that at an absolute push they could win a wild card game if they got there. So
Yeah,
I think winning a wild card game is definitely a ceiling for them this season. What did you have?
yeah. I have the same. I think they will probably win the division and they'll get to a wildcard game and see. They will be aiming to just kind of just end that playoff drought and just kind of build from there. Then,
Yeah, yeah, no, I think so. I think they'll get there this year because they were so close last year, and full season of Michael Penix is a big difference maker. But moving
mm.
on then to the last team in the NFC South, we have the Saints. Conan's team, he said to go easy on them. I told him that I'm not going easy on this team because I just think that they're probably the worst team in the league. But yeah, let's get into it. Where do they need to improve most from last season? If you had to pick one thing, you could pick a
Yeah,
lot.
the thing was having to pick one. It was a bit like we'll talk about United later, and it was trying to pick one there as well was impossible. But I think their run defense last year was a shambles. I said that about a team last year. I can't remember which one, but they allowed 136 yards per game in the run last season, which is criminally high. They really, really need to improve that and see where they can go from there. But that's shambolic.
Yeah, yeah, I had the exact same thing. Remember last week we talked about the Panthers,
Panthers,
um,
yes.
and how the Panthers had 180, just around 180. Now, the fact that the Saints are only 40 yards less, or they are 40 yards less, you think, wow, that like they're way away from the worst. But no, the Panthers were just exceptionally, unbelievably bad. The Saints were also very bad at stopping the run, but the Panthers were just on a whole other planet. But it's not to say that you should disregard the fact that the Saints were shockingly bad, because I think, yeah, it's really, really, really bad for them.
Yeah,
And there's a lot when you're in the same division as some solid running backs. I think Bijan Robinson caused them a lot of trouble. Bucky Irving in his second year, and
mm.
then also Chuba Hubbard, who looked very good for the Panthers last year. It's going to be tough, and they took a DT in the third round, pick 71, Vernon Brockton. Can't pretend I know anything about this guy, but it's a
Yeah.
lot of pressure on him. A lot of pressure if he's the guy they brought in to help out here. But yeah, who are the three players on their team that'll make the biggest impact that you went with?
I went with their new offensive tackle, Calvin Banks Jr. for a start. He had a really good college career. I had to look it all up, to be perfectly honest. I don't watch it enough college football to know anything about these lads, but 9 to pick overall, so he's probably going to come in and be starting straight away. And again, just like you were saying there about that defensive tackle, the amount of pressure that's going to be on him to try and fix this from the off is going to be absolutely massive. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in the step up. Outside of that, then I think the next two are obvious. I have Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave. Olave missed a good lot of football last year. He just kept getting concussed,
Yes,
which is
scary.
impressive. Like, yeah, so if he can kind of stay fit, they will have some hope. And Alvin Kamara is just an output machine. In fairness to him, he's always able to run. Last year probably wasn't his best year, but he is still really good, and they'll probably still need to keep building the offense around him, especially if Olave can't get a stronger helmet.
Yeah, I also have Olave. I just said return him from injury, he'll be big for them if they can get him the ball. I don't trust the quarterbacks that they have, to be honest, but yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens on that side of things. But I also have Danny Stutzman. Now they picked him up late on in the draft, and I think that he's somebody who just gave a lot of production when he's in college. Fourth rounder, he's 6'4", and he finished. He played in Oklahoma, but he finished ninth in the school's overall tackling history. So he has a lot of production, puts in a lot of work, big size to play at linebacker. May help in the run game if he's that kind of player that's gonna help on the line as well, but seems like he puts in a lot of effort, and we'll see if that translates over to the league. I think it was worth a flyer in the fourth round. And then last, I went with Chase Young. I think after a solid season last year, he's back again. He had 5.5 sacks last year. I think he'll have more than that. I think he'll get back closer to his best. So I think he's important for them. He's one of their star guys. So yeah, for me, look, it was kind of it's kind of tough because with a lot of the teams I was thinking, do I pick the obvious stars or we'll mix it up and pick half and half? But with them,
Mm,
I was just like found myself to be kind of clutching at straws a little bit
big
here,
time.
and I think yeah, Chase Young's last season wasn't amazing, but I think yeah, this year he could make a big impact if he's a lot better and continues with them in a good way. Next is, do we think they'll hit their over under with the bookies? This 5.5 wins. I'll start it off. To be honest, no,
Mm.
they're the worst team in the league. They're not hitting it.
Yeah, same. I had the under as well. I think the fact they still haven't picked a QB1 in training camp yet, and they're not
And they
exactly
have
picking
like
between two
three QB threes,
superstars.
like
Yeah, so Joe, that's what I said. Like they're not exactly picking among superstars. So
yeah,
I think they're in big trouble. I really do. I think they're in big trouble this year. And as you said, they probably will be the worst team in the league.
yeah. And those like videos of, I know it was when he was younger and stuff, but I still feel like he has that same personality, but like of Spencer Rattler when he was in
Mm,
high
QB1.
school, and yeah, just like it's just hard to watch, and I just feel like that's a bad look. And then Tyler Shook is like 40 coming out of college, so I don't think
Yeah,
that's very beneficial to them either. I really don't like the situation there right now. I think they'll be hoping for the number one overall pick and getting the Mannings back over to Saints Nation is probably what they'll be hoping for. But looking at their ceiling with the current roster and coach, I'm gonna say I'm stuck between 6 or 7 wins. I'm gonna say seven, let's say, because it's the ceiling. We'll say if every single thing breaks their way, and Spencer Rattler is a lot better, or Tyler Shook is kind of working from the off. I think if everything really works for them, they could get 7 wins, but that's an absolute ceiling. To be honest, I don't think they're gonna get near that.
yeah. Their ceiling for me was 8 wins. Same reasons. There's no real need to delve too much into it. I just think they're crap, and they're going to be crap. And I don't think they're getting too many more wins than their five, which keep them on the under for the bookies.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Right, let's move on then to football. We're looking at a couple of Premier League preview teams. We'll move back to the NFL then to cover two more teams in a bit, but we'll break it up here with the next two Premier League teams. So this week we have got Aston Villa, first of all. So where do you think they need to improve most from last season?
Set piece defending. Despite the fact they have Austin McPhee who jumps up and down the touchline a bit like the Arsenal lad every time they get a set piece, they still conceded 16 goals from set pieces last year. Six goals also from direct in play crosses. So they really need to get that sorted if they think they're going to push their way back into top four for next season. I think it was the same as Leicester, 16 conceded from set pieces. So that's not where you want to be.
No, that's really, really bad. I didn't realize it was that high, especially when they put a big emphasis on set pieces. You think
Yeah.
it could be better. But I said they need to balance the run in of the season better, because
Mm.
I think they'll have no issue to start off well again. with the team they have and with Emery and everything like that. But it gets tough when you want to continue at a top level on all fronts, as they did last year. And ultimately, like, they kind of came to a really abrupt ending to their season, whereas everything ended at once. They knocked out of the FA Cup, they got knocked out of the Champions League. Even though they were fighting really hard in these competitions, they just didn't have the juice like to get over the line. And I think they need to really kind of pace themselves a little bit better or manage these
Yeah.
things a bit better. And obviously that comes with experience and squad size and things like that. But I think that's most important for them. Then looking at three players who are on their team that'll make the biggest impact, I've gone with Onana. I think he's a star and he's still so young. I think they're lucky to have him in the team, and they're lucky to have picked him up because I think he'll only get better as years go by. Like, he's an
Mm.
absolute engine in midfield. He's very good on the ball. He can add a goal. He can defend. He can pretty much do everything. So if they look after him, he'll be a star for them. Morgan Rogers is their star. He'll only get better. Last year, after his breakout season of 14 goals and 13 assists across all competitions, I think he's only going to get better. We already raved about him earlier in the season, but I'm really interested to see where he goes next year. And then lastly, I think an interesting one was Ian Matson. I thought that was smart business for them when they picked him up. He took a while to bed into the team, but I think if he gets a consistent spot from the start of the season, he'll make a huge impact because I like him going up and down on the left side. I think he's a good engine, very good attacking ability as well, which is needed now to play in the fullback position. So I think he's another interesting one.
Yeah, yeah. I think we must have been copying notes on this because I also have Rogers and Matson, but I also have Thielmans over Onana as the
Mm,
midfielder, so his midfield partner. Thielmans last season was just a rock from. He never, I think the amount of games he started over 50 games, I'm pretty sure, from last season.
yeah,
And he never tired. Just keeps going right to the end of every game. Scored a couple of really important goals as well. I think if he can keep up that kind of form, the fact they got him on a free transfer,
yeah,
I think he's been absolutely superb for him, and I think he's a really really good player.
yeah. I think that when I saw him going for free at that time, I was like, United had been linked to him before, and then he was there on a free. I was like, surely, like, we need a midfielder for years, which
Mm.
I'll come on to later. But that's the exact type of player that United needed since Carrick, and they just let him go to Villa on a free, seemingly without making any effort to get him. So yeah, I think that's a good one. I think they're really solid in a lot of positions, but their depth maybe needs a bit of work. So next up, then, what's their ceiling with the current manager and squad for the season?
I think if they do a bit more business, as you say, kind of add strength and depth, then I think they can get back into top five. They
Yeah,
were really close last season. They were robbed on the last day by a shocking referee decision. Um, I'm not even
they were
blaming
going to
United.
lose.
That wasn't United's fault. Like, but
I know, but
if
like,
they go
they
1-0
were
up in
being.
that game,
That's true. That's true. But they were being, in fairness, they were useless in that game.
oh, they were. They
Being
were
battered.
absolutely shocking. But we'll talk about tonight in a few minutes and how easy it was to get ahead in games against them. But
Yeah,
I think they can definitely try and qualify for the Champions League again next year. They'll be pushing top six anyway for me.
yeah. I said ceiling is to get third in the league or win the Europa League, one or the other to get them into the
Yeah.
Champions League. I think if depending on which works out for them, if they go out of the Europa early and they can focus more on the league and they can get, I think they could really push for third at most, either that or winning the Europa League if they stay in it till the end. One or the other, I think definitely a ceiling and probably a goal for them should be to get
Yeah.
into the Champions League. And then lastly, what one piece of business do they need to do to help them this season? I think there's a good few things they need to do. Um, I think the most important thing that they can do is to keep Watkins. Um, they need to repair a relationship if there's any issues with that because it seems like there might be.
Hmm.
I think he's so reliable. 16 goals, 19 goals, 15 goals, 11 goals, and 14 goals from his most recent seasons. And like that's in the Premier League. He's proved it at a top level. They need to keep him. They can't let him go. And he's been providing assists like very regularly too. So I
Hmm.
think that would be massive for them if they do keep him. I don't think they should even be considering letting him go.
I agree with you on that one, but I think if Martinez goes, then obviously they need to get in a new goalkeeper because they've lost their one and two now because Robin Olsen is gone as well. So if Martinez goes somewhere too, and it looked like he was at the end of the season, but there's been absolutely no talk of any clubs being in for him at the same time. So we'll have to wait and see. But if he does go, they do need to get in a top goalkeeper to replace him.
Yeah. Did you see all the stuff about United and him?
That he was kind of pushing there. He was doing a Peter on and Wingy almost like, but they don't
It
seem to be
was,
interested now.
I don't know, it seemed like there was reporting from certain outlets and seemed to be pushed by Fabrizio, of course, that like
Hmm.
that he was being considered by United and all this stuff. But I think that's ultimately bogus. Like they're just his agents wanting to be shopped around, and
Yeah.
United had no interest in him. So I think that's a funny one. Team when players do that. So actually, then speaking of United, as we said, they're going to be the next one. Unfortunately, we have to talk about them here. So where do they need to improve most from last season?
As I said, it was hard to pick one, but this one kind of it just sticks in my throat every time I hear it. They conceded first in 23 Premier League matches last season, second worst in the league to Leicester, 31 across all competitions. Like yeah, you're starting every game needing two goals when you're doing that, and when you're kind of trying to rebuild the way United are, you can't afford to be going 1-0 down first in every single game, basically, or two
Yeah,
thirds of the matches in the league. You can't afford to do it at any level. You can't afford to do it if you're fighting relegation, trying to get back into top half, or looking to win the league. You just have to be able to stay tight at the start. And there's a couple of those games where United did start dominantly. They were the better
hmm
team in a lot of those matches, and then go 1-0 down, and the shape falls apart, the heads drop, and it just kills them. That that's
yeah.
the that's the biggest thing they need to fix going into next season for me.
The one for me then is it's almost the other side of that because it does fall into it. Now, I wasn't specifically talking about in games when they're on top, but in general, they need to score more goals. But in those games where they're on top, they need to score more goals, especially because, like you said, you're not going to dominate like 90 minutes of every game. So if the games are dominating in the first half, and then all of a sudden they just allow the other team to score out of nowhere, out of the blue, and then the momentum is completely swung, and they don't have even a goal to show for it. And that happened over and over and over again. And I feel like it's been happening for years. So more goals is really important, but to score them when you're on top, like it's pivotal. Like you cannot be doing the things that they were doing, and allowing teams to do things to them the way that they were.
Yeah, it's bread and butter stuff, really.
Yeah, like utilize your momentum, finish chances. Like it's not like they weren't creating good chances. Like Bruno was creating so many good chances, and
Yeah,
there's times where you need to score out of nothing too, and they literally did not have players to do that, which I thought was yeah, that's a massive issue. So I guess the three most important players for me, I would like to include Embuemo on this, but he hasn't been confirmed yet. It's still ongoing. Looks like Brentford are putting the squeeze on, trying to change the terms the whole time. So we'll see where that goes. I think United are smart for not just giving in and paying them what they want in a ridiculous way like they used to do. So I personally, United fans are losing the mind online about no business, but I would rather do things properly and get them in a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks at the latest,
hmm.
and go from there than pay ridiculous money like we used to do. But I'm gonna go with the other signing then for this point since Mbuemo's not in. I'm gonna go with Cunha. I think mentioned like players being able to score out of nowhere, do something special out of nowhere. He's one of those guys, and he did it in the Premier League multiple times over the last couple of years. So he's my first one. Second is Ahmad. I think he is United's best player last year outside of Bruno, even though he didn't play that much. I think if he played more, there would have been a proper shout for him to actually get player of the season ahead of Bruno. He's just electric, and he's just one of those players that, like, one of the probably the only one of United's players right now where every time he got the ball, I'd be like, this is our chance to do something. There's not many other players on that team that I think that's the truth. And then last up is Yaro. I think he's massively important. I think he needs to get another season. He only grew and grew and grew last year. He had some massive games for the team, especially coming off a tough injury at such a young age. I think he'll only grow playing at this level, and I think he'll be very important to the team's success if they're going to have any next year.
Yeah, again, we're very close. I had Cunha and Euro as well, and then I had Bruno as the last one. Don't like giving him credit or talking about him because I just don't like him. But I think he was pivotal to what you did last year. He kind of dragged you to that Europa League final. He's the captain for a reason. We'll see if he can keep doing it this year now after turning down the mega bucks from Saudi.
Yeah, yeah,
We'll see what he's able to do this year now.
yeah. You would hope so. You would hope so that it translates to something more for him, having turned
Yeah.
that down. That the team does perform better. And then, what do you think their ceiling is with the current manager and squad for the season ahead?
I think if they can kind of keep on top of everything, don't let things get like a bit muggy or anything, then I think they can get back into top seven. I think it's going to be a massive push. They need to start really strong, stop conceding first, and their ceiling would be getting back into Europe for me, qualifying for the Europa League again. I don't think they're going to push the top four or top five. I think if they could get top seven, top eight, I think it gives them somewhere to build again because they're not the United of old. They're not. They're full of players that shouldn't be playing for a club of the size of Man United, and they need to. You can't just sell 15 and buy 15 in the summer. You need to do it slowly, and they could kind of give themselves a base to work from. They'd be in a good position.
Yeah, I think I've gone with an absolute ceiling fifth place. The fact that they're not in Europe helps them
Mm,
a lot in that they have an advantage over other teams that are pushing for that 5 to 8, 9 range. Some of these teams are going to burn out a little bit, so I think they will. They at a ceiling they'll capitalize on that and things will work out. Now that being said, I don't think that is where they'll end up. I think it's sixth or seventh is more realistic, but I think if everything does break their way, they could get there by a couple of points. But I think they did the right thing getting Amrim in at the time that he got in because he was able to see all the problems and all the issues,
mm.
and the season was already in the bin. So, like, I think, yeah, he did really badly in terms of record and things like that, but none of those players were his. That wasn't his team. And he was basically given how bad it was and went, there you go. Look at how bad this is. Now you make a
Yeah,
plan from here. And I think Berarda has spoken well in the summer about how that was his vision, first of all, when he brought him in at that time, rather than to wait till this summer and him be like a shiny new toy. And then when ultimately something similar happens, everybody's losing their rag again. So I think now he has to perform, of course, but I think they put him in a nice situation to do so.
yeah, I agree with
Um,
you. I honestly thought there was stages during last season where he might actually get sacked. Um, things just going so badly, but I do see the vision. I think bringing him in when they did, as you said, was really smart. It gives them a chance to give them a chance to work the players, see which ones fit in the system, which ones 100% need to be replaced this summer, and which ones need to be replaced in the next 2 to 3 windows.
yeah,
It gave them a really good read. So we'll see how it goes. But I think just getting back into top half for a start would be a place
yeah,
to go because Man United shouldn't be finishing. What was it, 15th to finish?
15, yeah.
Yeah, that's not where Manchester United should be. I love us that they're down there, but it's not where Manchester United should be. In all fairness.
No, it's not. And I think that the the fact of what you said there, that some players will be like instant replacements needed, and some players like those guys that now are being told, yeah, you can go find a new team.
Mm,
Um, and then the others are guys that you might be able to tie over. Like I don't think Casemiro is a long term player for United, but a Casemiro that only has to play one game a week, play him 70 minutes every week, and then hook him off when he gets tired after giving full effort. I think that's a much better plan for a year than to just get rid of him too when it's going to be difficult to do so. So last thing then, what one piece of business do you think they need to do to help them this season?
I'll let you go first on this one. I'm still
Well,
struggling to pick just one, to be honest. I went with a centre midfielder, to be honest, but
yeah.
I
Let
just
me
don't
go
know if,
first,
if
and then you gave your answer.
I know. Sorry, I thought you were telling me. Well, I thought you were about to say, "Well, you just do it." So I just went with it in case. Didn't want to have our first on pod argument, so I said I'd just go with
First ever argument. We don't argue, guys.
no. Promise.
Yeah, centre mid. So what's the reason?
I just think when I put now, to be honest, when I was putting this together, I actually forgot it was only one game a season, and I was thinking about Casemiro would need someone to do a 60-30 split with him. So if he plays 60 1 week and then on the Wednesday night Premier League game he plays 30 and whoever else they sign plays the 60 and kind of split it that way, I think that would be a good signing from him. But at the same time, they've so many centre mids that need to go. Like Ugarte isn't really up to the pace of it. Kobe Mano probably needs a loan now. I don't, unless you're just going to throw him in and hope for the best. I don't know.
Outrageous.
I think that they need a centre mid who can add a goal or two as well. Someone that can maybe get forward a bit more because I just think their midfield is crap.
Yeah, I said athletic box to box midfielder for mine that can carry
Yeah,
the ball, and I don't care if he's young, if he's like 19, 20, because as you said, there's a lot of midfielders there, so he doesn't have to play every single game. Somebody that's fit for the future, at this point, I
yeah,
think is would still be beneficial because they need proven goal scorers. You're going to spend the money on that. Maybe you just have to spend 20 on another. But I also like the fact that Ndidi has a 5 million release clause for Leicester because I think he's
massive.
really
Yeah,
good. And I
yeah.
think they should look at that because that's not much for a quality midfielder.
No,
And yeah, I don't like the Manu slander at all. Don't be going on a loan. Like some of the things that this guy can do on the ball, just he's young. You can't expect his progress to be linear and to be level after
no.
level. Like he was excellent 2 years ago. He was injured a lot last year, and he looks to be in a lot better shape now coming into this season. And let's see what he does. He has clear talent, but I just find the
Okay.
main question. Let's see where he fits into this team because I think he's better as a 10 than sitting further back. So yeah, I think that's the main issue for me. But I don't want to hear this long slander.
Okay, I will just say now that I am glad I went first there because it kind of looked like I was just going to copy your answer, and then I went first and you went with the same answer. So I'm glad I went first there now.
All right, that's United covered off. Now we don't have to talk about them again until the season starts, so that's good. Unless they drag out the transfers, and I will start getting annoyed if nothing is done by the end of this month. But for now, let's leave it. So we're getting into our transfer roundup. Last week we did some NBA free agency stuff, so we've about 2 weeks of soccer stuff to go through. So I've just highlighted some of the stuff here that's happened since the start of July, pretty much. So let's start with the done deals anyway. What do you think of these? Well, we'll start with one team first. We'll go Arsenal. Two defensive midfielders, Zubimendi and Norgard. 15 million for Norgard from Brentford, 60 million for Zubimendi from Sociedad. What do you make of those two?
I think they're good players, but again, we're saying this every single week. Arsenal need to sort their front line. Not they like getting their a Declan Rice backup and a backup to their Declan Rice backup is just ridiculous. Like it really is. I know they'd replace Jorginho and Thomas Partey, and fair enough, they did need those players, but why are they making them the priority at the start of the summer? Like they could get Christian Norgard at any time over the next 3 weeks for 10 million.
Hmm.
Stephen Mendy's been a done deal since May of last year, but with the way things are coming out, like the way it's been announced every single month for the last year, so like they should have really been focused on getting in Gyökeres. Even though it does look like he is going to sign now, it is becoming more and more likely. But I don't get his Arteta's obsession to centre backs, left backs, defensive midfielders. Like you can only play so many. You can only get so
Yeah,
many into your 25-man squad. He needs to relax.
yeah, no, I think so too. I think it shouldn't have been a priority. I think that the Norgard one is a market opportunity, probably more than
Yeah,
anything.
of course it is. Yeah,
But yeah, I think they should be focused on other things. And if yeah, let's just touch on Gyökeres then. I guess Ornstein has it. I think it was yesterday that the discussions continue about the fee, but personal terms on a 5-year contract has been kind of sealed
agreed. It
with the
seems. Yeah,
player. But I think we talked about this before, and I said that if like a Liverpool signed him where he can run into the channels and use his strength and stuff like that, it would be way more suitable than if Arsenal sign him. I don't think he'll
hmm
work as well at Arsenal as he would at the likes of Liverpool, even the likes of the Spurs, to be honest. But yeah, let's see how it goes. I just don't think that it's the perfect signing for Arsenal, and I think there's a huge difference between the Portuguese league and the Premier League. And although he is a very talented player, at 27 years of age, he needs to be good fast, and they can't
yeah,
waste a lot of money on nothing here.
absolutely, 100%. Now, I do think it's a better bit of business than signing Seshko because we were talking about how Arsenal
Yeah, oh
didn't need
yeah,
a project player. Gyökeres, if he hits the ground running, like he's 27, as you said, he's not a project player. He's someone that can potentially get you 20 or 25 goals straight away because he's a good finisher. We just have to see if he can make the step up from the Portuguese league to
Yeah,
the Premier League. We'll just have to wait and see, really.
yeah, well, that's it. Literally, it. We'll just have to wait and see what happens there. Then moving on to Chelsea, I guess two more signings. We already talked about Gittins and how that was ridiculous. You know, them finding
Mm.
the need to get him, but they've got him now. Just will give you the fee, 48.5 million from Dortmund. So that one's done. Another one which we didn't talk about at all, their goal scorer in the Club World Cup semi-final, the prestigious competition that it is, João Pedro, 60 million from Brighton, beating Newcastle amongst other teams to the signature. What did you make of that one?
I think he's a good player. That's about it, though. I don't think he's a world beater. 60 million is probably on the high side of his valuation. His two goals were outrageous the other night, in fairness to him. But is he a striker? Is he a 10? Where is he going to play? What's he going to do? He scores a lot of penalties. He's not going to take penalties at Chelsea. I can see him finishing the season with 5 goals and everyone looking to get him out again.
I think that I think he's a very good player, and I think 60 million is steep, and I think he would have been better suited to like a Newcastle
In
because
Newcastle.
he could play off an Isak or whatever. But like
Mm.
this just begs the question even more about the need for wingers because now not only do they have a load of wingers, they also have guys that can also play on the wing. Like you can't start a lap Pedro and Jackson up front every week. So
No.
if you want them to play, some of them might go onto the wing, like Jackson used to play on the left wing.
Yeah.
This just makes not a whole lot of sense to me. But anyway, then a couple of other deals around the league is big ones actually today, with Spurs looking to reached an agreement for around £55 million for Mohamed Kudus 6-year contract. The medical is scheduled for today, so I'm not sure if that's done yet or not. But then the other one for Spurs that looks to be coming out in the last hour or so is that they're going to trigger Gibbs White's release clause of £60 million. So those are two massive pieces of business.
Yeah.
I really liked the Kudus one. I think he's absolutely class, and yeah, I think it's a very good sign that they're backing Frank straight away if they're going to spend that much on Gibbs White too.
Oh, 100%. And I think if they go with the three at the back, which I think they might, because Frank was a big fan of that formation, then just give them so many options. They'll have the two lads are signing, Kulusevski, Son, James Madison, all to play behind a striker that they're going to sign, I'd imagine. I think
Mm.
they're two really good
Unless
bits of
they
business.
play
Even
Tell.
for, yeah, I forgot about him actually, yeah, so it will be Tell as well. So, and if even if they play a 4-3-3,
Hmm.
Kudos off the left, Son off the right, Tell through the middle, one of Madison, Gibbs White, Kulusevski in behind. I think it's good business.
Yeah, I think they have a really nice squad now. I think I know we talked about them last week, but I think on what they need to sign. But I think right now, if they went back to Brentford and got Frank's old buddy
This,
Nathan Collins
oh yeah,
and whacked him back into that back three, I think they'd have an unbelievably good team. But yeah, let's see how it goes. That's a couple of bit of business for Spurs, and another few I have down here. Then are a bit of a mad one that went down last week was the Burnley signing of Kyle Walker, 35 years of age, 2-year deal, believed to be worth 5 million if bonuses are met. I think a bit more than that, but it's a bit mad to see him going to Burnley after seemingly looking like he's gonna like go abroad or maybe somewhere for a
yeah.
big deal. So what did you think about that?
I hope he enjoys the championship next season.
If he's gone to the championship, he's walking out that door without a doubt.
Yeah, yeah. I
Um,
think he'd sooner retire than playing the championship. I think it's a weird one. Joe, he is a multiple Premier League winner in fairness, and it is a good bit of experience to add in. But I don't see why it's a good fit for Burnley. I think he probably played with Scott Parker during their Spurs days, maybe together. But I think other than that, I don't see how this makes any sense.
yeah, yeah, I think they've got a pretty young team, and then maybe you could say adding the veteran presence, but I think you kind of want to stay young and keep building that.
Yeah,
system that they've got there, and they also let Egan Riley go on a free, which I thought was a bit mad after we talked
Crazy,
about how
yeah.
good he is going to be for them. So yeah, I'm not sure what they're at. A couple of others then. Alanga set to head over to Newcastle, 52 million. We've talked about that a couple of times, so we won't spend too much time on that again. Then Sunderland absolutely going mad. So first of all, they've signed like 5 or 6 players, but let's touch on two of the biggest ones. Habib Diarra from Strasbourg. I don't know a whole lot about him, but 30 appearances at 21 years of age in Ligue 1 last year, scoring 4 goals and 5 assists for a Strasbourg team that qualified for Europe or was just on the brink of it. And I think they were in Conference League and they could move up with the Lyon relegation. And then another one is looks like they're going to spend 21 million on Adingra from Brighton. Now, not the huge amounts of output, but he has Premier League talent. He's very fast, and I
Mm.
think a good young player as well that can fit nicely into a promoted team. So, what do you think of what Sunderland are at?
I think you said at the top they've gone mad, and I think they have gone mad because they've signed 5 Africans in an African Nations
Yeah,
Cup year.
yeah,
So they're all going to be gone in January. They're all going to go in January. They're going to be playing their championship squad for 4 games in January. Don't get me wrong. I think some of them are really good players. I think but Lefay, who was there last year, is a really
yeah,
good pickup from this year. Simon Adingra is a good player. Yaman Kamara, by all accounts, is a good player. I just think when they all go to the African Cup of Nations, Sunderland are going to be in bother in January, and whoever has them in January is going to have a field day. I think, but we'll have
yeah,
to see. I think that they're spending money, which is good to see.
yeah. It's hard to argue with that as well. Like with the African Cup of Nations going to be tough for the squad, especially in January. It's like the toughest part of the season. They're going to lose a lot of
Yeah,
players. Um, And then one more I have highlighted then is Everton. I think Everton only have like 18 senior players or something in their squad.
yeah, 15.
So which is absolutely nuts. So they made a signing. They signed Tierno Barry from Villarreal, who's touted to be a very good star, young player, 22 years of age. He scored 11 goals and got 4 assists for Villarreal last year in La Liga in 35 appearances, and he scored 5 goals in the Swiss Super League in his first 3 games before
Mm.
they signed him. So 27 million. I think a lot of people are saying this is great business. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on with them.
Yeah, he's another lad who I hope enjoys the championship next year, and we'll leave it at that.
Liverpool fan. And I had a special one for you that I didn't throw into our joint doc. Biggest bit of business of the summer, I thought, to be honest, is David
Freddie
McGoldrick.
Woodman. Oh,
No, Big Didsy. Going from Notts County back to Barnsley. Well, not back to Barnsley, but back to his old teammate Conor Horahan as the manager over there. Barnsley love a good Irish player. And
yeah,
McGoldrick has still got the sauce, I think. So looking forward to watching that absolute beast of a man keep playing. I think he's about 38 years of age at this point, so
yeah.
probably going to
I
get an
think
Ireland
I
call up.
think he is that as well. Yeah, yeah. He probably will.
But that's the transfer roundup done. Good couple of weeks of stuff covered off there, and we'll be back again with that again next week. Hopefully, United have something to talk about there. But let's do our last two NFL teams for today. We're moving next into the NFC West. I think after next week, the NFC will be done completely. We'll be moving into the AFC then for the previews. So let's start with the Rams. Where do they need to improve most from last season, in your opinion?
They have a severe lack of depth at linebacker and cornerback. Specs and Chris Paul Jr. are really unproven, so we'll have to see if they can pick anyone up again in the free agency. I think if they don't strengthen that position, they could be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think I like some of the young guys they have, and I like some of the young safeties. But yeah, I think depth is important and veterans as well. They don't want to get exposed there in a
Mm.
tough enough. I went to it the fact they need to diversify their run game outside of Kyron Williams. I know it's really tough right now because a lot of teams are often for like a good running back and a mobile quarterback that can get them extra yards, but they don't have that at all from Stafford because obviously he's older.
Not
He
young.
doesn't want to get
Yeah.
injured. That's not the usual thing for him to do, to run a lot. So I think that is tough, but they'll be probably hopeful that Blake Corum can take a leap in year two, but I didn't see a whole lot from him last year that would suggest that. So I think, yeah, that's important. If they could get a decent running back through a trade or just someone to back up, I think it's important.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
who are the 3 players on their team that'll make the biggest impact?
Jared Verse to start, defensive rookie of the year last year. Really, really good linebacker. We are just talking about linebackers. They really need to be able to count on him this year now to follow up on what he did last year. Obviously, Puka Nakua, one of the best wide receivers in the league. I think himself and Stafford need to click if they're going to get anywhere good this season. And finally, then Matthew Stafford, he's signed up again. If he can stay healthy and can find Nakua, then they could be okay. But I think they are going to have a bit of a struggle of a year.
Yeah, I like those shouts. I think they've built a nice young defense, but I think yeah, there's some holes that need to be filled, and I think Verse was a standout there. I also went with Stafford, but I also said that we don't mention quarterbacks much in this part because we're kind of trying to avoid the obvious, but also giving
Mm.
the star guys too. But I just think with his mentality and his gutsiness, I think that could be the difference between this team getting very far and not at all. Like if he gets injured, that would take a massive hit to them. He's I think he's very, very good, and I think he's gonna elevate the team no matter what. Just some of the plays he can make. Second, I also went with Nakua. I think he'll absolutely explode this season. I think he'll have an unbelievable season. Could go for way over 2,000 yards, to be honest. And then the last one I went for is Cameron Kinchins. At safety, I thought he was very impressive in his rookie season with 4 interceptions, 57 combined tackles. I think he played very well. Obviously, the highlight was the big touchdown return off an interception that he had. I think that, yeah, I think he helps the fact that they might not be as deep at cornerback, but yeah, I think he's another one that's going to stand out again this year. So next up, do we think they'll hit their over under with the bookies for wins this year? This year it's 9.5, and I said yes, definitely. I think they're the best team in the division, and I think they will win it.
So they're definitely getting 10 or 11 wins. And I think it'll be comfortable enough for them as long as they can keep everyone fit and healthy. They should be absolutely fine.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And then looking at their ceiling, let you go first. What do you think for the season ahead?
They're definitely into the playoffs, so their aim should be getting or winning their conference finals. Conference finals. What am I talking about? They need to win their division and win their playoff games and see where they go from there. I don't think they'll get to a Super Bowl, but I think they can get close enough.
So, what do you think is an absolute last mark for them? Championship, NFC Championship.
Yeah, championship game for them.
Okay, so I've gone for Super Bowl. I think they have
Oh,
everything there for it. I like the young defense they have. I love the offense. I love the quarterback. They have Devontae Adams now, and I love Sean McVay. I think he's probably the best coach in the league, up there with Kevin O'Connell,
hmm.
and a couple of others. But I think they only barely lost to the Eagles. They were one of the only teams to get very close to them in the last few games of the playoffs. They lost basically on one play. Like they could have beaten them if they had one more play. And I think they've gotten better, and some of their young guys have improved. So I think Super Bowl, I'm going mad. I think that's their ceiling, and I like them a lot.
Okay, fair enough. I have no real complaints with it, to be honest. I just think they will get beaten by the Eagles again.
Okay, yeah. No, it's hard to argue with that considering the level of the Eagles. But another story then is the Cardinals. For me, I said where they need to improve the most this season is Kyler Murray needs to finally be either the main man or not. They're stuck in
Yeah,
purgatory with him where they're not sure. They need to get out of that, and he needs to be either the star and the guy they're going forward with, or the one they move on from. They need to decide, and that's up to him to in his play.
100%. I did look at that as well, but again, I found it hard to look past their run defense. And I know I've done this a lot now, but this was mad when I read it. So they were the 26th worst in the NFL last year for yards per carry at 4.6. Like
Allowed,
you're not really
is it?
going to. Yeah, sorry, yeah, 4.6 allowed per carry, which is
Crazy.
absolutely criminal. So a lot of teams need to fix their run defense this year, but they're definitely up there because I think offensively they're really talented, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that when we get to the three players that will make the biggest impact. I think they're really talented offensively, but they need to learn how to shut down runs and shut down passing lanes and just see if they can build from there.
Yeah, I think it is. That is really important. Because 4.6 is a lot. You're basically saying to other teams, if you run the ball 3 times, most of the time you're
You're
going to get a
definitely
first
getting 10
down.
yards. Yeah.
So yeah, that's not a very nice stat to see for them. But I've gone with 3 players then. I've gone with one offensive guy who is Marvin Harrison Jr. It could be a good impact or a bad impact. It depends on how he tackles this year. I think he needs to do
Mm.
better overall due to the pressure that were put on by other rookies last year, like Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers. It didn't make him look, didn't put his name in shining lights, let's say. So I think he needs to step up. Second then is Will Johnson. I think he's a great pickup at cornerback. They got him in the second round. He probably the best out and out corner in the draft after he won the national championship a couple of years ago and was defensive MVP in that process. So I think that was a really good pick in the second round. And then lastly, I went with Josh Sweat, who they picked up. I think he'll help um, on the defensive line a lot. He'll probably help with the run game stopping. He'll get after the quarterback too. He's a great pickup. After winning the Super Bowl and getting 8 sacks, obviously the Eagles had to let some people go, and for them to step in and take him, I think was a good one.
Yeah, I went with three offensive players. I have Marvin Harrison Jr. this year. I think he really needs to be the one that helps Kyler Murray prove that he is the man that they can go forward with. I think he really needs to be able to rely on Marvin Harrison. He also knows he can rely on Trey McBride, who I've also put in here. 111 receptions last year for 1,146 yards. Only one touchdown though, so he definitely
Yeah, he
needs
needs to get
to
in the end zone.
improve that. Needs to get in the end zone, but I think he is absolutely class. And then I have put in Kyler Murray as well. As you were just saying, I think like he's I think he's going on 28 now, so he needs to be able to do it now. He has two potentially top receivers there in Harrison and McBride. He just needs to just find them. Stop playing
Yeah.
PlayStation games as much, maybe. Don't worry when the new Grand Theft Auto comes out. Just play your football and see where you can get then.
He's a big Call of Duty man. You need to keep him off
Loves the
that.
Call of Duty, yeah.
I then look well. I think he's going to play a massive part. Obviously, every quarterback will, but I think him more than some others because of how he so seems to be in the middle a lot. I think looking at their over under 8.5 is a very good one by the bookies because I found it quite hard to decide. But ultimately, after looking at the schedule, I think they will just get 9 because they're playing this year. Some of the teams they play is very, very easy. They've got the Jags, Falcons, Panthers, Cowboys, Colts, Titans, and Saints. Those are, looking, if you compare to last year, you would say that they should win all those. Now teams aren't
Yeah.
going to be the same year to year, but those are a nice base to start. To aim to pick up some wins, but I think they'll end up getting 9 wins and then just be none the wiser about the team going forward. They'll be in the same position again next year.
Mm. I said no. I think they'll get to 8. Again, I think the line was insanely good. And like we've criticized the line in a good few of these because some of them are just either ridiculously too high or ridiculously too low. But this one is a really good bar. I don't think they'll get to 9 this year. I think they'll get to 8. They were 8 last year as well. They finished 8 and 9 last year. I think they'll repeat that, and as you said, they'll just be like, where do we go from here? Because how are we not improving year on year?
Yeah, yeah, I think that ultimately looks like they're going to be the new Steelers, just sitting around that point all the time.
Mm.
Looking at their ceiling, then, what did you say with the current roster and coach? What's the absolute max that they can achieve?
If everything goes their way, they can get to a wildcard game to lose us. That's about it for me.
I've gone something similar. I said if Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. step up massively, they can get to the playoffs. But I said they could win a wild card game. I don't see it happening. It's just because their defense seems to be improving and their offense is there if they do everything. I think everything clicks. That's where they can go. But I don't see it happening. I don't really think they will get to the playoffs at all. But that's a push if things work out for them.
Yeah.
So that's 4 teams covered from the NFL for you this week. Good bit covered. Let's go with the draft portion that we've been doing for the last few weeks. So let's start with the. Sorry, I don't know what I was saying there.
It's okay.
I just got distracted because when you move in your chair, it's so fucking loud.
Is this?
Yeah.
I'm not even trying to move it because I can hear it, but I didn't realize it was coming that loudly through the screen. Sorry.
Oh, it's
I'll
good. I
get
don't
it.
know what your headphones are like super reactive today. Like usually I
Yeah.
can't hear anything, but even when you like open that bottle there, it was like so loud.
Oh God. Okay.
Uh,
I won't touch it again anyway. Grant.
I
So
think if
we're moving
this
into the
filters
draft
out,
section.
Yeah, this filters out background noise anyway, so it should be fine.
Perfect. Good.
Okay. So so let's wrap up then with our draft that we've been doing every week as our game. This week we've gone with a bit of a fun one, something a bit different. Best current jerseys in the NBA. So we're just looking at home and away strips, or like in the NBA they're called. The home, I think the away one is the icon jersey, and the home one is the association jersey or something like that. There's some kind of name
Mhm.
on it. Right? We'll just tell you the color of the one that we're picking because to make it easier. But who went first last week? I always forget.
First last week.
Can't remember. Neither of us can
Last week's
remember.
draft was the best defensive player. I
Oh,
went.
you went first because you went Parsons.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went first. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Let me go first this time. I'm gonna pick up. I'm happy with this because I wanted this one. So the first one I'm gonna go with is the Bulls jersey, just the classic red. I think that that's just yeah. I think it's just so iconic, and I really like those jerseys that have been around for like a really really long time, and it's still similar to like the Michael Jordan one from all those years ago. So I think that's really cool, and I like the black numbering on the red one. So that's the Bulls icon jersey. So the icon is the one that's not white, I think, for teams, and the association is the white one. So that's my first pick, Bulls icon jersey, red.
Perfect. I think we've probably gone down the same kind of avenue here because my two picks are going to be the Lakers and the Celtics, the yellow and the green.
Yeah,
Iconic. They've never changed. Always the same. Going back the whole way, the Wilt Chamberlain days, the Kobe days, everything just has remained the same. And I think it was really, really hard to overlook the two of them. I had the Bulls there as well as my top three. So I'm glad to have gotten two of my top three in there.
yeah. I think for me as well, I'm like a stickler for those like iconic jerseys that just the team always
Mm.
keeps a similar one. I think the Celtics one for me is the green is just class. Like
It's unreal,
I
yeah.
I just really like that. I had the Lakers a little bit further down, so I'm gonna pick my third choice. Um, here, this is gonna be the fourth pick overall, but is my third on my chart. I'm going with the OKC jersey, the blue one. I really really like it. I think it's probably just haven't seen it so late into last season, but I really liked that from back when Harden and Durant and Westbrook were together, and I think
Yeah.
that's only continued now. I think it's a really nice jersey, and I like the color of it. So I think that's it's going to be iconic now for a different reason with Shea. And then the next one is probably a little bit left out of left field a bit. I'm going with the Kings jersey, the black one. I really
Hmm.
like the purple accents on it. I like the kind of the style of the writing. So it's like I don't know, it just looks it's a bit of a mad one, I think, but yeah, I think it's I really like the way that they've done this, and I think yeah they started with this one in 2023. So that's the icon jersey, the black one. So that's what I've gone with next.
Nice. I think that is a rogue shout, but it's a good one. And I think my next one is a bit of a rogue shout as well. It might be a bit high here, but I love the Charlotte Hornets blue jersey.
Oh
The kind of the turquoise one, sorry. It's more Miami Dolphins than it is Charlotte
yes,
Hornets, but I just think it's an absolute beauty. I had to put it on my board. I couldn't leave it behind. And at four for me, again, is another kind of one close to home. I'm going to put in the Rockets black one. I wanted the white one, but you banned that at the very top of the draft. So I'm going to go with the black one instead. I just
no
think
no
it's
no no
class.
I didn't.
Again, they've
Oh sorry, is the white one their
it's
alternate like
the
city
City
edition?
Edition one. Yeah, the City
Yeah, okay,
Edition one.
okay.
Yeah. So I'll go with the black one. It has the red on the sleeves. It has the white numbers. It just looks so clean. So that's the
Yeah,
one I'm going with there.
yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot as well. Yeah, you kind of have to go with your own team, I guess, as well when you're doing these. Even though I may not go with mine because there's
Yeah.
a good few ones that I like left. Yeah, sorry, Sixers, you're not getting picked this time. There's too many nice jerseys left. I'm gonna pick the Spurs icon jersey, the black one. Again, iconic. Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard, and then just moving into, I actually had this jersey with DeMar DeRozan on the back when he signed for them, and yeah, I still have it somewhere, but I really really like that jersey, so that's my next one. And then the last one is one which I didn't even think was actually in a way like an association jersey. I thought it was a special one, but they actually brought it back as their full away jersey last year, and that's the Miami Heat, Miami Vice style jersey.
Oh yeah.
So with the pink and blue, right? And I think that's like really, really, really iconic. Recently, like yeah, people go mad for that jersey, and I think that has to get a shout because now that is their official association jersey from last year. So that's my last shout in the draft. So what have you got left?
Um, oh, I'm not Joe. Actually, I'm not sure which one is which here, but I want the Indiana Pacers yellow jersey, if I can. But I'm not sure if that's home or away, and if not, I'll take their navy one.
Yeah, I think the navy one is the home and the white is the away.
Okay, I'll take the navy Indiana Pacers jersey. I think it had such a good run throughout the playoffs. Looked really, really good, really, really nice. Yellow and kind of orange on the sleeves. Just it's a really, really cool jersey.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. I actually had it in my 10 and then I bumped it at the end. It was like, I'll put Philly at the end if all my other ones are gone. I'll have to take
Mm.
them. But yeah, those are our picks. So I've got the Bulls red jersey, the OKC blue, the Kings black, the Spurs black, and the Miami Heat white, Miami Vice style jersey.
And I have the Lakers yellow, the Celtic green, the Hornets turquoise, the Rockets black, and the Indiana Pistons navy.
Pistons.
Yeah, I knew it was wrong and I stopped myself. Indiana Pacers navy. I knew when I said it was like they definitely aren't called the Pistons. But anyway.
They only just got the whole way to the finals, and they don't even have their. Actually, this is at the end of the episode, so probably nobody's listening anymore at this point. But I
Yeah,
want
that's
to call you
probably
back.
okay.
Last week though, one more correction is you told me that
Ah,
Callum Wilson had
Callum
signed.
Wilson. I actually had it written at the top of my sheet to bring it up first, and then I was going to bring it up in the intro. I was going to bring it up in the intro,
Oh,
and
nice.
then
Okay, let's do it then in the intro because we're recording the intro right now for you guys. So let's just end it now, and you'll have already heard it because there's no point in us mentioning it again. So we'll catch you next week. All the good stuff we usually say: subscribe, like, blah blah blah. Long episode. Let's just end it. Good luck.
cheers, lads. Good luck.